This is Visiblepreneur, the podcast that promotes and grows your business. From local, here in St. Charles County, to around the globe. Attract more customers to your business. And here's your host, the Isaiah Bentley.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Visiblepreneur. As you know, back with another nice one as always. So today I've got this guy right here. His name is Craig Posel, and he's known as the Treat Box guy. Don't know what that is? Well, definitely open those ears and listen up, because you're going to find out what a treat box is, how did he get started into this, and all of that fancy stuff. So first I got to say...
Fancy stuff.
Yes. It is fancy, wouldn't you say?
I guess.
Yeah. But welcome to Visiblepreneur first off. And how did you get into the treat boxes, and what is it?
So I've been in advertising my whole life, pretty much my whole career, I would say. And about 10 or 11 years ago, I met a buddy of mine at a basketball game with our basketball practice my daughter was at, and then his daughter was there. And we went to, actually this guy and I went to high school together, graduated together, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. We hung out in high school and knew each other, but just hadn't seen him. And so ran into each other there. We got talking. He told me what he did, and he told me about these little boxes that he sells to real estate agents, and they're about the size of a soda can. You put candy in them and other stuff, and give them away. And he told me this, and I literally in my head, I'm like, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard of. That is stupid. I'm like, that is not. I don't get it, and so it was strange. I just didn't understand it. So, and he had been doing this roughly for at the time 10 years maybe. So
wow.
He created the what's now what I call a treat box, 22 years ago now. So basically in around 2000 is I guess when he created it. And but when we were talking again, he had been doing it for like 10 years, give or take. So we kind of kept in touch, just because our kids were the same age. Like, obviously our daughters played basketball together, and then his youngest son and his oldest son, my youngest son, went to preschool together. So I would see his wife and was like, how's Greg doing? How's the boxes doing? And she's like, good. She's like, we're doing this. And I'm like, no shit. Like, so, and then, so in 2017, or no, like 2015 or 16, I worked for a company, and Greg goes, hey, I got a question to ask you. How do you go out and get business? And I was in outside sales. Always have been. And I go, basically, I walk into a business, ask who handles the advertising, and then I give them and normally I'll say, who handles it? They'll say, Isaiah. Is Isaiah here? And they're never there. Even if they're talking to you, they're never there. That's just the way people are. They don't want to talk. So then I would leave a business card and maybe a brochure, and then they would throw it away. That's usually what they do. So he goes, I got an idea. He goes, buy these boxes, hand them out, and then follow up with a phone call and see what happens. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I did. And it was around Christmas. It was like that week between, that time right after Thanksgiving, right before the Christmas season. So like late November. This was probably 2015 or 2016. 2015, I think. So my daughter and I filled up like 100 boxes with little candy canes. And then I went out the next day, and I decided to go from De Pere to Baldwin on Manchester and just hand out as many as I could. I handed out like 40. Just simply walking in, who handles the advertising? It's Bob. Give this to Bob, and I would walk out. That's all I would do. That night, I was driving home, and I got like 5 or 6 phone calls from people thanking me for the boxes. And I was like, yeah, you're welcome. And I hated my job at the time, like despised it. So called my buddy. I go, hey, I guess these things work. I go, people are actually calling me, which never happens when you give a business card. They ain't going to call you,
Right.
But now that I actually gave them something, they think it's really cool, I guess. So he goes, well, cool. He goes, let me know what kind of business you get out of it so we can know your ROI. And I'm like, okay, And so I literally followed up with nobody. Because again, I hated my job, hated it. So I didn't give a shit. So it was really bad, but they did work. And, so now fast forward a few years later, 2017, and he's like, hey, he goes, I got an idea. He goes, I can print these for you, but you got to do all the marketing and, sales and design and all that. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to design. I'm not a graphic designer. He's like, it's easy. I'll show you how to do that. I'm like, all right, whatever. And I go, I don't know if I want to do that yet. I was working for a digital marketing company, and it was okay. And so finally in late 2017, I decided to dip my toe in the water and try it. And then 2018, I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So the original name of the company was Mobile Leads Cubed.
Mobile Leads Cubed.
Yeah, because they're shaped kind of like a cube, and they're mobile because you got to go around and hopefully people get leads off of them. That's the whole idea. So a friend of mine told me that's a terrible name. You know this person. I'm not going to say who it is, but you know this person. And she was right. So you probably know who it is now because I said she. But
yeah.
She was like, that's an awful name. And I said, well, whatever. I said, that's what it is. And so then about 5 months later, I changed the name to Treatbox Guy. And that's people were calling me that. And I'm like, I'm just going to name the company that, just make everything easy. So the website's that, Instagram, all that crap, just Treatbox Guy, just as simple as it sounds. Look that up and you'll find all my information. But yeah, I finally in 2018 decided to go full board. Just take that leap, as Steve Harvey says, take a leap. Took a leap and, I guess haven't looked back since. So
that's excellent.
Yeah. So that's the long story of what's your question, but that's kind of how it all got started. So
no, I actually didn't know that, even though we've done a 1-to-1 together.
Yeah. So it's like I said, another guy actually prints them for me, and he actually created it 22 years ago. So, because people are like, well, how long? I'm like, I've been doing it 4 years, but it's been around a long time. It's so yeah, that's the deal.
Oh, that's awesome. So you do have a little bit of graphic design in you.
Well, I do now because I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know what I was doing at first, but thank goodness for Google. You can look stuff up and just trial and error and figuring it out. I look at the first few designs I did, and I mean, I guess the whole key is with these boxes and with this, it truly is the fact that you're giving something and you're giving a gift. And when someone gets a gift, they're just happy to receive it. You know, when they always say, it's the thought that counts, it really is the thought that counts. I mean, you're actually remembering them, you're giving them something. So the design is important, but it's not as important as some people want to make it out to be. I mean, you don't want to have just false information, but it doesn't have to be like, the Mona Lisa, the most perfect thing in the world. I mean, I think I've had one person or one client, potential client, in the 4 years I've done this that we couldn't come to a design agreement, but she just wanted something that was ridiculous. And I'm like, you know what, you're making this way too hard, but that's okay. It doesn't work for everybody. So
yeah,
can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, that's right. That is totally true.
Yeah. So.
And one thing I like about those boxes is that it's literally, as you said, it's a cube.
Yeah.
It's advertising. And you also can go out to, because I'm sure probably your top clients are real estate agents, auto mechanics. So it's like you'll go and door hang these on either businesses or houses as well too, right?
Yeah, mainly neighborhoods, door to door, because they have a hole in the top that you can. What I suggest everybody, and people will say, "Oh, put ribbon through it." I go, "Well, you could, but it's going to take you about 3 years to tie all those ribbons, or just put a rubber band through it." The rubber band is easy and simple, and they hang really nice. So they turn into really, as I say, extremely powerful door hangers, because most door hangers you get are just flat. It's a flat piece of paper, got a hole in the top. You put it on the door handle. Everybody knows how they work, and nothing wrong with them. They work. But the treat box, what's nice is, again, people, they grab it off the door, they shake it, something's inside of it. So hopefully then they'll bring it inside, open it up, and then because of that, they're looking at the box and obviously it's got your information. So, and then people always ask me like, well, what do you suggest putting in the box? And their first thing is like, well, obviously not chocolate because it'll melt, and has nothing to do with that. If I lived in a, let's say Greenland, for example, because it's always cold, which I thank God I don't live there because I don't like the cold. But
yeah,
it's not the fact that chocolate will melt; it's the fact that people just eat it faster. Most people, not everybody, but I would say majority of people. If I gave you 10 Hershey Kisses and 10 Jolly Ranchers, most likely you're going to eat those Hershey Kisses faster than the Jolly Ranchers.
True.
So the whole idea with the hard candy, as we tell people, is it just lasts longer. So the longer your box is sitting there in front of them, the more chance they have to look at it more. It's just that repetition. They're going to see it, and then when they maybe need your service, they're going to remember you. because that's the whole point. It's just another touch. As I tell everyone, like I said, I've been in advertising my whole career. So my whole idea is, the more ways you can get people to remember you, or as they call those touches, you still got to do your social media. You still need to be doing, if it's a billboard, if it's radio, if it's TV, if it's print, whatever's working. But this is another like tool in your tool belt, another thing that you can do that, to me, it's just a nice thing, whether it's you're using them to gain new business as a thank you, which again can help you with new business. Because my whole idea, I hope what happens is that when you go to your auto mechanic and you get your car fixed, and then you leave and you got a box in the cars, you bring that home, set it on the counter, then Bob from next door comes over to watch the hockey game. Bob sees it and goes, "What the heck is this?" You're like, "I don't know. The guy just put it in my car. I just got my oil changed, but I guess something new they're doing." And then Bob's like, "Oh," he goes, "So why do you go there for your oil change?" "Well, I get free oil changes for the 2 years I try to buy a car. Well, my wife needs a car." So it's that conversation starter. That's why I try to tell. It's like an icebreaker. It's just a way to get the conversation started, and then who knows what will happen. Does it happen like that every time? No. Do I wish it did? Yes, but
Yeah,
nothing's perfect.
absolutely. I enjoy that. And like you said, because you went full on board in 2018 with the company Treatbox Guy. So what's been your experience getting out there, networking it? Because, for new people who don't know what that is, they just say, man, this is like, wow. Like, for some that know what it is, it's revolutionary. I think it is.
Well, I sucked at networking at first. I was the worst person in the world because I didn't understand it. I thought, you get up, you tell everybody in the room what you do, and then they come over and they buy from you. And that's not what happens. So you have to do what's a lot of education, a ton. And then you have to do a lot of, truly being there to help everybody else in the room. It really just comes down to you want to become, honestly, you kind of have to become friends because that's who you're going to refer most likely. It's people, you and I know it, but anybody out there, whether you're networking or not, this. It's people that like, and trust. That's who you're going to refer. Years ago, when I was working for a digital company, and I've always done networking a little bit here and there. I just never did it consistently like now. But I was at a seminar, or a training, I guess, and it was all about Google. And and actually Google even came in, I think, one day, and they talked as well. But this was through the company itself, and they were talking about SEO and SEM, mainly SEM, and just the paid ads and all that. And so the lady asked the question, so if your faucet is dripping at your home, what are you going to do? What's your next step? And everybody in the room is like, oh, go to Google and search, how to repair a faucet dripping, or go to Google and, how to get it fixed. And so you'll find a bunch of plumbers that's their whole idea. And I raised my hand and I said, I would probably call my dad or ask a neighbor. And she's like, well, why would you do that? I go, because that's who I would trust. I go, that's people I know, people. And I was saying it, not even realizing it, but it's true. I go, I think that's where you go first. I don't think Google's bad, and I think it's part of the equation. But for me personally, I think most people, if you got an issue in your house, you're going to probably call hey man, this is happening. Like, what do I do, or who do I call? I just think people do that. So that's kind of what networking can do for you. Is then all of a sudden you've got those people that are kind of in your hip pocket. And you can, because you already know them, you're like, hey, you know what? They can fix this. They can do that. So, but yeah, networking. The biggest thing about it is that I learned is it's a long game. It doesn't happen overnight. People who join and they think in 2-3 months, they're in a group, and they thinking, I got nothing out of it. Well, you showed up to 3 meetings in 3 months. Did you sit down with anybody?
Right.
Did you do that? No. Well, I'm sorry, what do you expect? It's just networking is another form of, it's advertising. That's how a lot of businesses use it. In lieu of spending hard advertising dollars on radio or TV, they network, but it's just a long game. It takes time, but everything takes time. I mean, even radio and TV takes time. You don't get results overnight. I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
So, and I've just always, that's one thing I've learned is, and it's about building those, again, with networking, it's building that relationship, which, some people tell me like, oh, you can build it really quick. I'm like, you can, but it's not, how lasting is that relationship? I mean, again, I think I've known you now for a couple years at least.
Yeah, I think more like 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Probably
2 or
like
3.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I remember when you first came, this is Isaiah with the sound frequency, and you sit back down. Basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did, because I'm there. I don't know what am I gonna say, because this was when we was at the very first location.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, there's all these people there. What do I say? Keep in mind, I was no public speaker back then.
Yeah,
I don't even consider myself one now, and it's like
I don't like it.
People
I don't
there.
think. I think you'd be surprised how many people in that room don't like getting up and talking in front of people. Even today. And they think they're like, they do. They're like, I did terrible. It was awful. And it's like, dude, it doesn't matter. Just everyone already, majority of people in the one group that we are in together, everybody knows everybody, but it's just seeing those people over and over. And you never know how it hits you. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've done it. I have, where you've maybe read a book or listened to a podcast, and then you re-listen to it or reread it, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize.
Oh, yeah. Because you learn something new whenever you do listen to it the second time. That's how it typically works.
Well, plus, your mind's in a different setting. You're at a different point in your life, so now all of a sudden you're open. Maybe you're open to listening to it. And I know that's what the, again, the whole networking thing. You just don't realize, sometimes the people are like, well, I had no idea that, oh, that's what he does, or that's what she does, and oh, that's how they can help me. And those are clues I can look for, things I can listen for. So, because really, you're just trying to educate your sales team every week.
Yeah, and you bring a little bit of improv to the group.
Improv?
Yeah, a little bit, because
Right,
whenever you get up and stand on the chair and just talk, because people know to expect that from you, but at first it's like, oh, wait a minute. And then we got another person that's in the group that's doing it too, and it's like, oh, wait, he can do the improv now? Well, why can't I?
Well, no, and I'll tell you, the reason I did that was because that one place that we're at, I'm not 6'5", so
neither am I.
and so but it was so crowded. I'm like, nobody can see me. So I just got up in the chair one day, and then with my boxes, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna. I don't know why. I just started throwing them at people. No idea why. I just did it, and then I was like, well, I'll just keep doing this. So I guess I have a hard time sitting still, so I need to do something. So, but yeah, I don't know. So it's funny to me now, because there was another person that I know. She started standing on chairs, and somebody leaned over to me and was like, oh, she's doing what you do. Is that cool? I'm like, I don't have a copyright on it. I don't care. I'm like, I'm still going to do what I do. I said, it's imitations of what is best form of flattery or something like they say. I go, it's fine. It's, again, I'm hoping every business in there does well. So obviously if that's going to help them, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what it's about. And, when you throw the little boxes and bring some improv to it, they really enjoy the shit out of that. I guess. They really, really do.
Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah. So, next thing I got to ask is that now that you do this full time, and because I know you mentioned also, too, you took the leap of faith and you quit the job world.
Right.
What has that experience been like for you? Like working for yourself, self-employed?
I would say it's a whole bunch of emotions. Everybody's like, oh, it'd be great to work for yourself, which it is, but you also have to understand. At least for me right now, I do everything but print the boxes. Mm-hmm. So all the marketing, all the advertising, all the accounting, all the business stuff. All that stuff. I do all that. And then, there's days where it's just, you just want to scream and holler, because it's just like you have no one to bounce ideas. Well, I do have people to bounce ideas off. That's what I have my whole, my networking sales group for, which helps out.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I realized that, probably more recently, but I'm like, oh yeah, that's what they're here for. But yeah, it's because I started with zero. I started at, my first month it was 0.00 is where I was starting from. I didn't have a, already a clientele base or anything like that. So
I know how that is.
Yeah, I mean it's hard, but when you have the passion for it, and I think personally, not having a plan B, it makes you okay. I mean, this is it. I mean, and I've had people say to me, it's like, oh, give it a year, and if it's not working, then I'm like, no, because that mindset to me is going to be like, well, you can always just fall back on this. And I don't think you're going to put everything into it. If this is it and it's all you're going to do, then you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and you're able to. It's just a lot of work. I mean, and so I don't know.
Yeah, the work, the consistency, the time you put into it,
Mm-hmm.
it all counts.
Yeah.
Because like you said, this is the plan A, and this is the one that you're falling back on.
Right. No, I mean, this is because I've seen people who they've started their business, and but then within 6 months they're back in the corporate world, which is not a damn thing wrong with that,
Right?
At all, nothing. And I like I say this to people, I go, I'm not saying I'm right by doing this, but this is just my mindset where I am, and I'm sure people looked at my my profit and loss statements and sheets and all that, and might go, you know what, you're an idiot. Like, well, but you know what? Then I don't know. I mean, I believe in it, and so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, and you're definitely grateful for doing that, because it takes a true person with a true heart to get on out there and dive in and work all in for yourself.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, there's definitely days where you're just like, oh, maybe I should just go flip burgers, Maybe
don't do that, because you can do that right in the kitchen,
No, I know. So, but yeah, there's definitely days where you're just like, is it all worth it? But yeah, those days are very few and far between. So
yeah, because look how far you've come.
Yeah, it's all good. So
yeah, absolutely. And what has it been like, family support? Carrying out your day-to-day life, as well as keeping up with your family. How's that been like for you?
Well, the good thing on my side is I've got a brother and a dad who both have owned their own businesses for 27 and 30 plus years.
Oh shit! Okay.
So they've definitely been a help. And they all kind of knew, I think, in the back of their mind, they're like, yeah, he's not going to stay he's definitely going to go out on his own at some point. I think they were actually shocked it took as long as it did. I never do things probably the easy way. But, and then as far as like with my kids and all that, I mean, it is nice that, you have the flexibility of being able to, if they've got events, games, stuff like that, you can be there for them. And then, heck, my one son's even helped me some, when he could. Now he's got his own full-time deal, but when he was a little bit in high school still, he would actually help a little bit. So yeah, they're all there for it. They, they're that part is good too. So yeah.
The entrepreneur family you've been around, that's excellent.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it until I got into it. I'm like, oh yeah, they have done this and have done that. So I just. And the entrepreneur word's always been weird for me, because I just think of myself as a small business owner, because that's what my dad and my brother were. But yeah, it's titles don't mean as much to me. It's just trying to create something to fill a need that will help out small businesses, and that's what I think we bring to the table. It's just getting them to understand how this idea that we have can help fill that need, and some do and some don't. But you know what? There's a lot of businesses out there that can use my services. It's just, again, getting the word out to them. That's your challenge. That's everybody's challenge. So to do it in the most efficient way.
Yeah. And like you said, the challenges are there, but hey, us entrepreneurs, we have to accomplish it to be able to break past that next stage to accomplish what we need.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
And last question I want to ask is that where does somebody go to follow the Treat Box Guy, maybe get in contact with you? Where can they go?
The easiest thing, like I say, if you would just even Google the word treat box guy, I'm sure all my stuff would show up. But just treatboxguy.com is my website. Facebook, you can follow me there. Instagram, I think, is the same. So those are the three main places I would say to go to.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I will put that link in the description below. So with that, thanks for being on Visiblepreneur. This was definitely fun for sure.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And for those viewers out there, don't forget we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and then of course we're also on Anchor, which goes out to multiple platforms like Spotify, Apple, Google Cast, and a few others that I can't think of the name of, but you just look up Visiblepreneur, you'll find us out there. Also, thank you to the Sound Frequency for sponsoring this episode. So with that being said, find us out there, and we'll see you on the next one.